Well, that was unexpected. First of all, can I just say how lucky I feel today to be here with all these wonderful young people who are graduating. I mean, you're inspiring, and I know you're going to go on to do wonderful things. I've got some advice. I hope you don't mind me offering it to you, just some things that I've picked up. And maybe perhaps, and I'm speaking particularly to our graduates today, maybe perhaps together we can make everyone's life better. So, first of all, thank you. I'm not sure I recognise the person you just heard described. I mean, I recognise some bits, but I don't, if I'm honest, feel worthy of that praise. I suppose the truth is, I was there, and I was involved with those things, but really with projects like the Marlow Theatre, well, they're achieved by teamwork, and I was lucky to work with some fantastic teams, people who did fantastic things and changed people's lives for the better. So yes, through lots of hard graft, we worked to improve our local community. And yes, we built the Marlow Theatre and the Beanie and introduced district-wide recycling. But I was just a part of it. And sometimes, okay, I was the catalyst. But often I was just the person who got to listen to other people's brilliant ideas, as Anthony said, and be in a position to say, yes, what a good idea, let's do that. You see, most things in life involve teamwork, and actually truly great things are rarely achieved by individuals acting alone. There would be no regeneration of Thannington without Paula Spencer, Velia Coffey and Charlotte McCall. And there would have been no new Marlow Theatre without Janice McGuinness, Colin Carmichael, Paul Barrett and the rest of the fantastic fundraising team. And without going through a whole list of names, that applies with everything that we did, particularly Neil Stott, Tony Parker, Martin Vai and Ron Pepper. These are names you may never have heard of, but together they all worked hard to make Canterbury a better place. I am in their debt, so this is for them too. What else did I want to tell you? Yes, sorry, this is important. Graduates, beware of labels. Labels can be helpful when they're on jars of jam or tins of paint, but dangerous when put on people, and I'm going to give you an example. When I was 10 years old, we moved to Canterbury from Hertfordshire. My mum, an author and playwright, and my dad, who occasionally read the news on the BBC World Service, they had recently divorced. I was sent to a local primary school called Wincheap for a year before going on to secondary school at the Simon Langton. In my final term at Wincheap, there was a residential trip. I was really excited about it. I mean, everyone was. But Mum forgot to sign the form, and when I handed it in late, I was told the deadline had passed and I couldn't go. So obviously, I was upset. My teacher told me to go and see the school secretary and ask if they might bend the rules. Now, she was a very nice lady, the school secretary, and there and then she stuck her head round the headmaster's door and asked if it was too late to add me to the list. I'm afraid it is, she said, and my 11-year-old heart sank. But then he added, hang on, we better let him go. He's from a broken home. Well, obviously I was relieved, but also confused. Relieved that I'd be joining my mates on the school trip, but also confused to hear that my home was apparently broken. At 3 o'clock I hurried home, not sure what I'd find, half expecting a pile of rubble, or at very least a crack stretching from the roof to the front door, and was relieved to find that the house was still there, exactly as I'd left it that morning. But what to do? My mum was out, and I had no one to ask what it meant being from a broken home. And then I remembered my godfather, and he was a lovely man. He told me just after we arrived in Canterbury that if I had any problems to pop round and he would try and help. I ran the mile to his house, and he was in. My godfather was an extremely wise man. He was a barrister and worked for the government all over the world. I had every confidence that, however, bad this situation was, he would know what to do. The other great thing about my godfather was that when I went to see him, he would often offer me a beer, which is not a common occurrence, as I'm sure you realise, when you're only 11 years old. So needless to say, I always enjoyed going to see him. Anyway, small bottle of weak Belgian beer in hand, we sat facing each other over the kitchen table. And after exchanging nervous pleasantries, I bit the bullet and I asked for his advice. He listened intently. I could tell he knew, but wanted to choose his words carefully. And then he began. The Archbishop of Canterbury, he explained, had said young people who get into trouble with the law often come from homes where their parents are divorced. And apparently everyone was talking about it. It turned out the Archbishop wanted people to make allowances for children from, as he put it, broken homes. And as a result, experts were saying, and people now took it for granted, that children from broken homes, like me, were at risk of drifting into juvenile delinquency and crime. But, he assured me, my godfather, that is, not the Archbishop of Canterbury, that I really mustn't worry, because, well, just because my parents had got divorced, well, that didn't mean I was going to go to prison. And indeed, on this occasion, thanks to the timely intervention of the Archbishop of Canterbury, it meant that I got to go on the school trip after all. So altogether, as John kindly put it, a win-win situation. And, as it turned out, I didn't drift into juvenile delinquency. Well, not to any great extent, anyway. Rupert Bealby and I did once steal a coloured light bulb from outside Morelli's cafe in the centre of Canterbury. And there was a certain amount of smoking behind the bike sheds, and sometimes we pretended we'd signed up for cookery classes so we could bunk off and hang around at the Simon Langton Girls' School. But other than that, well, we were basically well behaved. And that's the point, really. The label was wrong. And that's the problem with labels. Labelling human beings, especially children, is fraught with danger. It just dehumanises and alienates them. The way we adults label kids, however well-meaning, can have a lasting effect on how those kids think of themselves. When a child is labelled, that label becomes part of their identity. Labels nearly always do more damage than good. I bet most of you here have been labelled at some point in your life. Labels just set people up to fail. We are all individuals with a right to be judged individually and not on the basis of preconceptions of how we might act as defined by a label given to us by others who have never met us. So please, graduates, in life, give everyone a chance and act on the evidence of your own eyes and ears. And certainly, and quite obviously, I hope, never believe the labels or, in fact, anything else at all that is written in the Daily Mail. And that brings me to my final point. We are all judged, in some way at least, by our actions. So act well, graduates. Act well. Be good, think of others. I sat on the City Council for 30 years because I wanted to help people, because I wanted to make this place a better place for everyone. And to be honest, I don't really want to be remembered as the bloke who thought it was a good idea to build the new Marlow Theatre or the Beanie House of Art and Knowledge. What I am most proud of is being there to sort out people's problems. There was a woman who was about to have her kids taken into care because she'd missed a deadline. A housing estate threatened with losing their playing field to a car park. And obviously, as is still the case today, villages threatened with losing their rural buses. And the thing is, sometimes you can help just by listening. So please, graduates, as you go out into the world, take the time to listen to people, and particularly people who perhaps haven't had the opportunities that you have. And, well, that's it. That's all I really wanted to say. I mean, obviously, thank you so much for this, and thank you all for listening. And thank you to the University of Kent for being such a fabulous place to work and to study. But, just to recap, beware of labels, and most of all, and I really do believe this, the greatest satisfaction that any of us can achieve in life is through helping others. Sometimes the tiniest acts will save lives. So be lifesavers. Succeed in whatever you do. But think of others and succeed for them too. Thank you.